From my point of view, you've chosen to do more limited editions rather than discontinuing less successful products. What has led you to this solution? Is that true?
No.
Is the premise of that
Yeah, but I understand that people always remember the thing that caused the most stir in the comments, or, so that's kind of, I guess, from your POV. But I did the math earlier. I think of all the polishes we released, over 100 now, different shades, 19% of them were marketed as limited edition. So basically the vast majority, 4 and 5, are not limited edition. Now, some of those might be seasonal, like the Christmas glitters are seasonal,
Sure.
so those aren't technically limited edition. So generally speaking, we haven't wanted to make most of our stuff limited edition. And when it is a limited edition product, there's always a logistical reason or another reason that makes sense for that product. So for example, when it was a collab,
Yeah.
I think there's like some IP and issues.
There's legal reasons.
There's legal
why those
reasons
are
why
usually-
it's, and that's why you see so many, like when makeup companies do a collab with someone, it's a limited edition stuff. So there's that reason, but that was just a new reason. And then other reasons can be like supply chain pigment related reasons, say it's something that's really rare, but also knowing that we would need it in the quantities that we need to keep restocking it is kind of a comment that I see people misunderstanding a bit, because they'll say like XYZ smaller nail polish brand has a pigment similar to this and they're not limited edition. How come you are? Well, it might be a different quantity. And if we don't think we can reasonably keep stocking it, then we might have to make that decision to just make it limited edition.
I remember there was one product early on that we had no intention of making limited. And when we went to make a second run of it, the pigment we got from the supplier was totally different than it was the first time.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is the same. They claimed it was the same thing when it wasn't.
But right. So that made us more, we need to consider this, and we kind of have to make that call. If we're releasing something where we know that even one of the multiple pigments that goes into a bottle is going to change, and the supplier says like batch to batch, it's going to vary a lot, or they may not be able to make more, we kind of have to take that into consideration. So with that in mind, we try and pick moments that make the most sense for limited edition products. So that's why so far, other than the collab, it's been just my birthday
anniversary and birthday,
and
right?
anniversary.
Yeah.
That's been limited edition. And then seasonal stuff is kind of a new category that we have based on a number of reasons, including some pigment limited availability, because I want very specific colors in Holo glitters.
And even with the limited edition stuff, in some cases, if we can bring it back, we're interested in using the loyalty program as a way of sort of, listening to the customer voice. If there are some products that we can bring back, should they enter the catalog?
We've done that with Got Cake and Everything Taco.
Yeah. So like one thing that sort of gets me about this, and not complaining or anything, but my perception is there are a lot of companies that release things. They're available for, a certain amount of time, and then they maybe sell out. And the company doesn't necessarily tell their customers that it's going to be there forever or not. I feel like you've been like really transparent with people about, expectations about stuff being limited edition or not, just because you want people to, you want to share as much as possible. But to me, I almost wonder if we sort of set a precedent for ourselves that's hard, because could we not have just released a collection, been like, this is the collection this season, and
not said
just
anything.
not say whether or not it's permanent or not?
We have this conversation all the time. I disagree with Ben, because I think that customers, and we've seen this, for example, with seasonal glitters or with frozen bananas, they want clarity. And if they're like, hey, customer service, can you tell me if this is limited edition or not? And customer service is like, I don't know, check back to find out. Then that's even more frustrating.
I get that.
So that's ultimately like why you have to pick. And it's really hard to even say these are seasonal, because people are still like, well, what does that mean? Exactly when will it be available? And it's like, we don't know yet, because there's X, Y, Z factors. And I think that the last thing I want to say about this in terms of why things are limited edition is we're at 105 polishes now. Whereas in the beginning of Holo Taco, we had way more flexibility to decide like just what should be limited edition because of pigments availability or whatever. Now we make and need to keep replenishing too many polishes. Like we're getting to the point where we need to consider that not everything that we've ever released can be available at all times. So we will be considering like which SKUs should be discontinued. Potentially, we've already discontinued one. And people were upset at that, to be honest. So it's incredibly challenging. But the reality of the business is there is no reasonable way we're going to be able to keep every single thing we release in stock in perpetuity. So having things like limited edition collections just helps from a manufacturing and planning perspective to know that it's going to be released and then it's gone, because we need to move on. We need to make more room for literally space for more polishes and also like freeing up the space for the manufacturer to start filling new bottles of nail polish with the shade that we're coming out with next. They can't keep going back to, oh, we have to restock this shade that was released 2 years ago that 42 people want. Like, it's just not realistic. And I wish we could. And I try a lot to, can we just please just restock everything always? But yeah, I have to come around. And I hope that our customers do too, to the idea that that's just not going to be possible or reasonable.
Yeah, but the customer voice is important. Like, we want to hear what they do and don't want. And it helps us make decisions about what should stick around. But you're right. Like, you discontinued the least selling polish
literally
in our
the
entire
worst seller
catalog,
polish,
and people were like outraged over it.
Yeah.
So,
and they thought that I did that for marketing, but I was not. I was actually just being like, FYI, we're discontinuing it.
I hear it's hard to be transparent without
People
seeming like you're
perceiving it as-
engaging in like sort of FOMO marketing, which is
So-
something we are really sensitive to, I think.
In terms of the like older polishes that were released years ago that we may or may not restock, if they're on the website, there is a new feature that we released like a month ago where you can hit the notify me button and put your email in. So if there's a product that's still on the website that hasn't been restocked in a while, honestly, go do that, because we are going to look at that and evaluate on a seasonal kind of basis, what do we bring back and when, and then also the Holo royalty members will have more of a say. But I think that we're probably going to leave that towards more like limited edition stuff. So it's a more meaningful input.
While we're talking about website stuff, I know a lot of people were mentioning things like wish lists and things like that. We hear that feedback. I think this year, loyalty alone and a few other things sort of like took a lot of priority and time and thought on the website, but we know there's other ways we could improve the website too. Yeah.